I know. Why on earth would I make a video about the concept of a PlayStation 6 in the future when the Pro variant of the PlayStation 5 just got announced this week and that's still months away from release? The pre-orders for the console aren't even open yet. Why would I make this video? Well, amongst the info that we were able to garner from the PlayStation 5 Pro that was announced, that you can check out this all info video if you missed it on the channel here, there's a lot of other information that we can kind of infer and read between the lines here within the PS5 Pro that could pertain to how the PS6 may look in the future. So I boiled down three things that we could potentially see in the future PlayStation 6 that we can garner from the PlayStation 5 Pro that is due out this fall. What's going on, guys? It is your boy TKD12D here, back in here at PlayStation Source, and we are going to discuss what the PlayStation 6 could potentially have in store for it in the future based off of what we know about the PlayStation 5 Pro. The debate has been raging on ever since before the PS5 even released. Do players prefer high-end resolutions at 4K at 30 frames per second or 1080p to 1440p resolutions at 60 frames per second? As stated by Mark Cerny in the PS5 Pro presentation, many games this generation have given players the option to experience either one or the other, with the inception of performance modes and fidelity modes primarily premiering on the PS4 Pro back during its 2016 release and extending into the current PS5 generation. There are many reasons why people prefer one or the other, with reasons varying from the overall stability of frame pacing, which is the separation of individual frames within a 30 or 60 FPS container, garnering a more even overall feel at 30 FPS fidelity modes, given how taxing certain games have performed under trying to meet that 60 FPS line this generation. While other reasons in favor of 60 FPS offer a smoother play experience with not that drastic of a hit on image quality in comparison to fidelity mode. However, a very crucial point mentioned in the PS5 Pro showcase comes from Mark Cerny himself, citing that, quote, when asked to decide on a mode, players are choosing performance about 3/4 of the time. This is huge insight on the way the wider audience are choosing to have their games presented on PS5. I myself have a very clear and stern bias towards performance mode, as in my opinion, the way a game feels on the sticks is much more important than how it looks. Yes, having a higher resolution is great. I game on 4K capable monitors and TVs, but given that gaming is an interactive art form that players are participants in, it's unlike any other medium adjacent to it when looking at movies or TV shows. Ensuring the game feels smooth and tactile is my top priority, so the more frames the better in my opinion, barring certain genres and point of view perspectives, of course. With this disclosure of 75% of PlayStation players choosing frames over resolution gives me hope that the PlayStation 6 will focus on providing that experience more than pushing the bounds of visuals. And it's not like they're lacking in that department either. I haven't played a single PS5 game at 30 frames over the course of its 4 years of life, with many third-party developers and most importantly first-party PlayStation developers offering capable performance modes at 60 frames per second. Now, are all of these performance modes the best? Certainly not, with the likes of my beloved Final Fantasy VII Rebirth looking pretty poor in the game's vast open world areas in performance mode. However, with this knowledge of the clear majority of players on the platform yearning for a smoother experience as opposed to a resolution topping one, it's safe to say we could see the continuation of offering performance modes alongside improvements to them thanks to PlayStation's new PSSR technology, PlayStation's Spectral Super Resolution, that uses AI-driven upscaling methods to improve the image quality while retaining internal resources of performance to run games at higher frame rates. We're already beginning to feel the pains of this inevitable PlayStation 6 future as it pertains to cost, especially in our wallets. With the announcement of the PlayStation 5 Pro hitting a $699 USD price target, it seems like console pricing is catching up to the rest of the tech world, with prices rising from even a few years back. While the general consensus, including my own predictions, falling within the bounds of an increased cost for the PS5 Pro unit leading to $599, many were left sticker shocked at the very last minute inclusion of the pricing across multiple territories. Myself, for that matter, had literally no words but to laugh at not only at how wrong I was about the price of the mid-gen refresh, trash, but purely at how expensive it really is. $700 to the average person is expensive. There's no way around it. We can point to the reasonings of the nature of this console being a pro addition to the PlayStation 5 hardware suite, making it not needed or necessary for the vast majority of players. Besides, the PlayStation 5 is a great machine for the price as it stands today in 2024, and the Pro is merely for those that care about the highest performance on a console that don't want to dip into the realm of PC gaming. While those reasons are completely valid, it's clear that the console pricing is going the way of most industries in the modern day. I don't claim to be a financial expert or know exactly why currencies around the world are losing value, driving the cost of goods and services higher worldwide, but it's clear that it's happening. I feel it every week going to the grocery store, evaluating car prices as I maintain my paid off vehicle for dear life, and I felt it most when looking for the best possible value with my current apartment rent. Everything is expensive, including our beloved games industry, with the cost of game development rising, the games themselves rising, and more specifically, the tech required to manufacture our beloved console boxes rising as well. With all that being said, the PS5 Pro is a $700 console, and that must point to a similar, if not more expensive price tag for the inevitable PlayStation 6. For historical purposes, the PlayStation 4 debuted at $400 in November 2013, with the PS4 Slim cutting the price of the original PS4 to $300 in September 2016, to be followed up by the PS4 Pro launching at $400 in November 2016. The PlayStation 5 launched a disc version at $500 and a digital version at $400 in November 2020, with revised Slim models launching in November 2023, with the physical version at $500 and the digital version at $450, arriving at our PS5 Pro in question with the controversial $700 price point in November 2024. Do we see the difference here? While the introduction of all digital PS5 variants did offer a cheaper cost upfront for many people, the cost of all PS5 consoles across the board have either stayed the course or gone up in price in the case of the digital PS5 Slim model when comparing it to the launch digital PS5. When looking at the PS4 generation, we would have probably assumed that the PS5 Pro would take that $500 slot the original PS5 had in tandem with a hypothetical price drop to $400 for the base PS5 console, or perhaps maybe even a very enticing $300 digital PS5 could have competed with the likes of the Xbox Series S a couple years after launch. But clearly, we're not in that reality at all. We're in quite the opposite, in fact. That can be blamed on a wide array of global economic circumstances. So as it pertains to PlayStation 6, $700 could in fact become the base price for the future Sony console. Maybe even higher if this trajectory continues. No one can say for sure, and I certainly cannot say for sure. But judging by the course of the tech world, we may be looking at the new price of gaming consoles and the eventual PlayStation 6 price. Our last point that we could possibly glean about the PlayStation 6 is something that we didn't necessarily need the PlayStation 5 Pro to do for us, but it certainly does reinforce it. I don't see the PlayStation 6 launching with a disk drive native to the hardware. Simple as that. I'll be very direct about this point as it pertains to me because I truly don't care about physical games. The last physical game purchase I made was God of War 2018 when I got my PS4 Pro in 2018 and have been a PlayStation Store exclusive customer ever since. It's the main reason I bought my PS5 digital console at launch. I just simply don't care to buy physical games anymore, as my gaming purchasing formats have mimicked the way of music, movies, and TV shows, an all digital way of getting all of those different vectors of entertainment for me. An all digital future is coming, and many have adopted it, specifically in the gaming space, with around 80% of PlayStation games sold were digital as of the first quarter of 2024, and Capcom expecting 93.2% of its software unit sales to be digital as well this year. Many players aren't using the disc drive anymore on PS5. So when the PS5 Slim came around last year, they introduced the ability to purchase a separate disc drive if players so desired, alongside a physical version of the Slim model with a disc drive out of the box natively as well. However, things have definitely ramped up a bit with the PS5 Pro having no digital or physical version, splitting them, opting for a centralized digital-only SKU. Physical game lovers will have to purchase the separate disc drive, driving the cost of the Pro beyond the $700 price by $80. It's no doubt a messy situation in that regard, and a situation I can see being negative in certain aspects in the long run, even though I am a digital-only games consumer. For one, a lot of people still care about physical games ownership. I've come to terms with the lack of true ownership I have as a digital games consumer, but many don't want to defer to the hope that PlayStation will continue compatibility and access to the digital games on the PlayStation Network and PlayStation Store as a whole. They want to be able to play the game they purchase whenever they want, excluding possible delisting issues or network problems or cancellations that may arise in the future. It's an argument I feel anyone can respect, but the other side of it is much more pressing in terms of our industry as a whole, the long discussed games preservation argument. Video games and time haven't always played nice, with plenty of games being lost to it in the industry's short life, from source code gone missing to copyrights expiring, calling for the delisting of games across digital storefronts and store shelves. If the physical game leg is removed from the industry table, it could allow for more games to be lost in the event of a copyright dilemma or delisting and the physical version was never made in the first place. It could spell a troubling reality for game preservation as we know it, only to be heightened by a closed environment under the control of one company such as the PlayStation Store and Sony respectively. Perhaps Sony has a plan not yet revealed to address the game's preservation concerns, and maybe the day of an all-digital games future is much further out than we all expect, but I think it's safer to assume that the PlayStation 6 will certainly launch as an all-digital platform with hopefully the option to buy a disc drive for those that care about it. Besides, Sony would much rather take the larger cut they get off of all digital game purchases sold on the PlayStation Store than have to share revenue with the distribution companies to get Blu-ray discs to store shelves across the world. So what do you make of this hypothetical vision of the PlayStation 6 off of the backbone of the PlayStation 5 Pro? A PS6 with a more realized and improved dedication to 60 frames per second and beyond performing games, an expensive entry price that could meet or exceed the $700 price point precedent, or the all-digital games future facilitated by no native disc drive? Let me know how you feel down below in that comment section, and would that be a PS6 that you would be interested in getting into? Links below to our Twitter, Discord, all that fun stuff. Thank God for watching, and as always, greatness awaits.